Hi, good evening everybody and welcome to this webinar this evening. Tonight's webinar is funded by the Farm Advisory Scotland service and it's Relationships, the Most Important Crop to Grow, and it's the fifth in this series of Under the New Start. I am Kathleen Gunn and I'm your chair for this evening. I will give you a quick overview of potential business relationships for new entrants. And unfortunately, Andrew Marchant wasn't able to be with us this evening, but he has sent us his top tips for business relationships and why it is important. We'll also then hear from John Laughton, the Relationship Director at HSBC. John is based in Inverness, and HSBC are passionate about supporting the next generation of farmers. Unfortunately, John doesn't have a video camera, a webcam, but he does have a presentation. Tonight's meeting will run for about an hour and will be aimed to finish for 9 p.m. As I said before, we'll have a quick overview of relationships, then we'll hear Andrew Marchant's top tips and advice, and then we'll pass over to John for his views about relationships. With webinars, please ask questions as we go. My colleague Kat, who's in the background, will collate the questions and pose them to our speaker at the end. To ask questions, if you have any questions during the presentation, click on the Questions tab on the side of the webinar toolbar, and this should have appeared when you joined the webinar. Your questions will only be seen by ourselves and the panelists. So they are anonymous, so please type as we go through the presentation. If you're using a mobile device, there's a question mark at the top. If you click there, you can type in your question and submit it. We're going to start this evening with a quick poll. If for any reason you're not able to answer the question, if you hit escape on your keyboard, it'll take you out of the full screen and you'll be able to click on your answer and press submit. So we'll just ask the first question. We'll just launch that poll. So that's our first poll. If you can click your answer and we'll get the results in just a minute. Just waiting for a few people. Okay, yep, that's everybody voted now. So just close that poll and we'll share the results. So nearly 3/4 of the people on the call tonight deem the relationships as very important, and then about just over 1/4 as important. So I think we can all agree that they are important to the business relationships. Okay, so we'll have a quick overview of financial relationships, of business relationships. When starting in any business, you're developing new relationships and strengthening existing ones. This can be very tricky, with many balls to juggle and others offering their opinions. These are some broad headings of the sectors in which you will have relationships. Some relationships will be for a one-off purchase, but some will be for life of your business. Some relationships will be formal and you may never meet, while others will grow and may even extend to friendship. Let's have a quick look at some of the relationships you may have under these headings. Financial. As a new entrant, getting the finance to buy your own land can be a limiting factor. So the relationship with your bank or lender are very important. Finding a trusting and agricultural accountant to advise on the setting up of your business, whether it be a sole trader, partnership, or limited company, is also essential to have a two-way conversation about what's best for you and your business. Land. For new entrants, getting a piece of land to farm in your own right is one of the most limiting factors to starting and growing your business. As one of this series of meetings covered, land agents, and they could be large companies, the auction mart, or local solicitors, you could contact them to see what is available, and you can tell them what you are looking for and keep that contact ongoing. If you secure a tenancy of land, the relationship with the landlord would be established and will be important. You may be able to rent more land from them, or they could be your reference for other tenancies. Other farmers, when starting out, neighbours, friends, relatives, can be essential to giving you a hand at busy periods. Other farmers can be a great place to get advice, maybe a mentor through the FAS, Farm Advisory Scotland. You could be able to borrow machinery and you could help them out. Don't be afraid to ask other farmers, as they're usually happy to share their experiences and offer help. Suppliers. From machinery to feed to vet products and services, your suppliers can be local or international, and in some areas you may not even have a choice. Your supplier can be down to personal preference, whether it's between a John Deere or a Case tractor, or it could be down to cost. As a new customer, some suppliers may ask you to pay up front for items. It may be only after time and building a relationship with them you may allow to put items on account. Your buyers are essential for any business. If you don't sell your product, you have no income and therefore no cash flow. You may be selling a product direct to the end customer, or you may be selling your product on for further processing. For example, selling stock at an auction mart. You have no relationship with your buyer, but developing a relationship with Mart's staff allows you to sell your stock at the appropriate time and sale. Remember, first impressions work both ways. Be who you are, and relationships will develop with time. Okay. This is a picture of Andrew Marchant and his wife Aileen. They were the new entrants and first generation farmers and British new entrants against British farming new entrants against all odds winners in 2019. In 2019, the Marchant started to lease 93 hectares from Buccleuch Estates. Since then, they have undergone expansion and now farm around 300 hectares. Having started with 12 sheep, they now have a flock of nearly 1,000 ewes, 30 cows, and now have a red deer herd. Their farm was part of the QMS Monitor Farm recent cohort, and in 2018, Andrew started producing deer as a joint venture with his landlord. Andrew gave us this statement: building relationships is vitally important. If you are serious about establishing or developing a business, you can't do this on your own, and all the hard work in the world won't be enough if you can't get finance or access to further opportunities. If you can get a start and get the ball rolling, you will be amazed how you will gain momentum, and with the right people around you, it will be easier to make the most of any opportunities that arise. These are Andrew's top tips on relationships. Don't be afraid to tell people of your ambitions and plans. You must build experience and a CV. which will prove to a potential landlord or business partner that you're capable and qualified. Do what you say you're going to do. If you manage to get some land or finance, you must deliver on your plans in order to prove yourself and build trust, faith, and goodwill. Go above and beyond wherever possible. This may be the only chance to prove yourself. Be decent, friendly, and nice to people. It goes a long way. Surround yourself with like-minded, positive people. Negative people drain away on your time and energy. Listen. You may think you have a great plan, but you need to be prepared to be flexible and open-minded. You will find that good, progressive farmers and business people tend to be very open and generous with their time and advice. And lastly, it won't happen overnight. You need to be willing to do the hard yards and show drive, determination, and commitment. These are the things which key partners in your business will value and are the key to further opportunities opening up. So I'd just like to thank Andrew for taking the time to get those top tips to us. Now, we'll pass over to John Laughton, who's the Agricultural Director at HSBC. John, over to you.
Thanks, Kathleen, and thanks everyone for listening on what is a dry night here in the Black Isle. So there's plenty of balers out tonight. Just wanted to give a brief introduction about myself before I begin with the presentation. I'm Orkney born and bred, but now live on the Black Isle, God's own country, apart from Orkney, that is. I've been an agricultural relationship manager with HSBC for just about 5 years now, but I've been involved in the farming industry for over 20 years, predominantly through banking and finance. And during that 20 odd years, I have established and built up many good relationships Scotland-wide through the years, both externally and internally within banks. So a brief agenda tonight, just a brief introduction, and then I would like to put relationships into context with HSBC. It's also important to state what a relationship is, and also go through the kind of life cycle of a relationship, the starting point, the middle, and what does good look like when developing a relationship, and also I've put the end here as well. Thought it was important to put that into context as well. So this is a shameless plug for HSBC. So HSBC was actually founded in Hong Kong by a Scotsman back in 1865, and it's grown quite a bit since then. We now have 3,800 offices in 66 countries around the world. So we're a truly international company, and you know, our strapline is connecting customers to opportunities. That's what we do, and that's what we like to do. We have more than 38 million customers that bank with us, and highly profitable, as you can see from our figures in 2018. I just put some stats here as well that Bank of England figures showed lending to the UK agricultural sector is about 18.75 billion in July 2018, and there's not been much movement from that figure in 2019. Now we relate that to total income from farming in 2019 of 5.28 billion. HSBC UK has an agricultural team of about 95 relationship managers, and believe it or not, that is our title, relationship manager, so it fits in well with the title of tonight's presentation. There are only 5 of us in Scotland, but given that this only started 9 years ago, we hope that these numbers will grow. Despite coronavirus, the uncertainty created by Brexit, greenhouse gas emission targets, retailer power, we continue to lend to the sector. It's a green sector, and we will always continue to lend to well-managed farm businesses, whether that be existing customers or ones that are new to the bank or new to the industry. Full stop. I thought it was important just to put relationships in HSBC into context. This may sound a bit cheesy, but HSBC do relationships. As my earlier slide pointed out, we have 38 million customers worldwide. So we effectively have 38 million relationships around the world, ranging from private individuals with just a basic current account to multinational PLCs. We are a service industry, so customer relationships are absolutely crucial to what we do. And relationships, when you think about it, can range from a digital service that some people are quite happy with, to a telephone service, right through to a full face-to-face relationship management approach. Believe it or not, the word relationship features quite a lot within HSBC. Within the Agri team, we all have the title Relationship Manager. Ourselves and customers are supported by a team of Relationship Support Officers and Relationship Support Analysts. So the word relationship is a common thread and is at the heart of what we do as a bank. We have about 30,000 farming customers, so we have 30,000 very important relationships with farmers in the UK. Now, we're not alone. A lot of companies and larger companies are obsessed with customer satisfaction surveys, and you may see this a lot when you get correspondence, or if you've done a deal, or if you've bought something from somebody. The customer satisfaction surveys are taken very seriously within the industry, and it's essentially a barometer as to how customers rate their relationships with us as individuals that they deal with on a day-to-day basis, and with the bank as a whole. So relationships are taken very seriously within HSBC and within the banking industry as a whole. So before we go on to discuss what a good relationship looks like and how this can be developed, it is important to define what is a relationship. Now, this is the Collins Dictionary definition of a relationship. There's 5 definitions there, but number 3 is the most relevant to what we are discussing tonight, in that it's the mutual dealings, connections, or feelings that exist between 2 parties, countries, people, etc., a business relationship. Number 1 is also relevant, and it states about the importance of being connected. Number 4 can sometimes come into play from an emotional context as well, because business decisions can become quite emotional and mixed with personal. Is a relationship a partnership between 2 individuals, 2 businesses? Or is it a network of partnerships? When you think about a farm business, there's the bank, the accountant, the solicitor, the advisor, the land agent, and all these people working together for the best outcome for the customer and all the stakeholders. And relationships are key here. Internally within the bank, your relationship manager will also have relationships with internal departments of the bank, such as credit, and your relationship manager will have a relationship with these departments on your behalf. So it's important to look at the wider picture. Although you may have contact with just the one person from the bank, there is a bigger picture there. And I want to stress that the industry that we're operating in, farming, is more than just a business. I mean, we've got two photos here. We have the typical corporate business boardroom, but the picture on the right is more like the meetings that we have on a daily basis. In farming, there are very few boardroom situations. The family kitchen table is essentially the boardroom, and the line between business and private or personal can be quite blurred. So we have to be very mindful that relationships aren't just business in farming. There's a lot more to it than that. I thought it would be best to break down the concept of what a good relationship looks like in terms of, quite simply, the beginning, the middle, and the end. So as Kathleen quite rightly said earlier, first impressions count in all relationships, particularly business relationships. So I'm gonna pull an old chestnut out that we use quite a lot, and it's Campari, which is an Italian alcoholic liquor, if you're interested. But we assess a lending proposal in terms of character, ability, means, purpose, amount, repayment, and insurance, which is essentially security. This is how we assess a lending proposal, and it's what I see as the start of the relationship with a new customer. And remember, first impressions do count here. So to simplify, sorry, I'm skipping on there. So I've simplified Campari further into 4 key elements, and this is in order of priority as well. Is that we've got, sorry, I'm just going back to where I should be here. So this is in the order of priority, and I want to stress that this is important. We have person, we have affordability, we have equity, and we have security in that order. We don't start a relationship with security or equity or affordability, but we are starting a relationship with the person. And this is why it's at the top of the priority list. When you're looking at the person, you're looking at the integrity, the capability to deliver a plan, the technical and financial skills, the track record, and the support network of that person. Essentially, we as bankers and as a bank are lending to that individual and to that person or persons involved in the business, with the affordability, the equity, and the security flowing from that. When we talk about the character in the Campari, we are talking about the people who are going to make the plan a reality and the people who are going to make that plan work. So it's about track record, reputation, ambition, and enthusiasm. Now, a formal business plan is a great starting point to demonstrate to us that a long and fruitful relationship can be established. So from solid foundations, i.e. a robust business plan, a relationship can grow and flourish. And I think the bottom point here is really quite crucial. Is, does the customer fully understand the plan? Do they buy into it? it's not just a consultant producing a business plan. They have to be fully involved with it. That's a good starting point for any relationship. So once a relationship has been established, how can this be developed? This is the middle bit. So there, as you can see, there are many key factors to a successful relationship, and I suppose these can differ from person to person, but there are core factors which are absolutely crucial. I've picked up my kind of top 6 factors for a successful relationship here, and this is in no particular order whatsoever. So firstly, it's communication. Number 2, it's trust. Number 3 is mutual benefit. Number 4 is honesty and openness. Number 5 is know your business. And number 6 is that personal aspect. So I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on communication, as I feel this is quite an important aspect in any relationship. By frequency, it's important as a farm business, and the farming industry as a whole can be pretty fast moving. Things can change dramatically from that initial business plan, for good and for bad. So regular contact, therefore, is absolutely crucial. Customer satisfaction surveys, which I mentioned earlier, show that customers that have more regular contact with their bank manager rate their relationships as being stronger. Consistency, this is important as both parties know where they stand. Changing of the goalposts is not desirable, and I think we can all agree to that. Timing, this is quite a crucial element of the whole communication process. A top tip would be advice of things that may or have happened before they do happen. For example, I might go over my overdraft limit, or I will go over my overdraft limit is better than I have gone over my limit, or have I gone over my limit. From experience, dealing with something before it happens is easier than dealing with something once the horse is bolted. Quality. I think it's very important to take time out to have a quality conversation with your bank manager, your accountant, your advisor, either a Zoom, telephone, or face-to-face. It's highly productive, rather than having a chat whilst sorting cattle for the mart, doing lambs, spraying, baling, etc., etc. Try and see that relationship with your advisors as just as important as these other hands-on tasks. Information. Believe it or not, as a bank, we like information, but we do need it to make informed decisions. So make sure you have relevant information to hand, and if requested, provide it in a decent timescale. The customers who provide us with regular relevant information have a better relationship with the bank, and generally have an easier time in getting things done. I wanted to put the last element, good and bad news, in. Don't be scared of telling us bad news. We work in the farming world, after all, and it is very uncommon if everything goes to plan. Things can and do go wrong, and we understand that. I feel trust is, sorry, I'll go back. I feel trust is very important in a relationship. This is a two-way thing. So we as a bank have to trust you, but quite importantly, you as a customer have to trust us. And this trust element is built during a relationship. It can be tested in difficult and challenging situations, but relationships can equally be cemented if that trust element is there. I want to include mutual benefit, because all of the best relationships that are out there in the world from a business perspective have mutual benefit. So the actions of one party have to be mutually beneficial to both or all of the other parties for a true relationship to prosper. Openness. Put simply, just be honest. There's many words for honesty there, but if things aren't going well and that you're not happy with us, with what we do, don't be scared to speak up. If the trust is there, both or all parties will be honest, knowing that the relationship will not be harmed. And second lastly, know your business. I've emphasised a few words here, in fact two, which I believe are fundamental. And I think relationships can break down over these two words alone. So there is an emphasis on cash and cash flow. I would stress that it's essential to understand cash flow from the outset. This ultimately determines the level of support that you require from us as a bank. It's vital also that you understand the impact of management decisions on cash flow. For example, the decision to fatten cattle rather than self-store, storing wheat rather than selling off the combine. How does this impact cash flow? And then overdraft requirements. Also understand the impact of factors out with your control. These are normally weather related. Just look over the last couple of years and the impact it's had. Hot and dry summer, an impact on cereals. Cold late spring weather, an impact on lamb survival. Wet autumn and the inability to establish winter crops. The outbreak of coronavirus and loss of food service sector sales for your milk processor. As well as understanding this, I think it's important to demonstrate and quantify the impact before it happens. Now, these are very negative focused, but also tell us the positive impacts on your decisions on cash flow. We do like good news. I wanted to include this because I've touched on it before, that farming is more than just about the business. Corporate businesses are more clear-cut between business and individuals. Now, relationships with individual family members are crucial. We're sometimes dealing with multi-generational, long-standing family businesses that have been within the family for generations. Each generation have different viewpoints, goals, aims, etc. So we not only have a relationship with the individual farm business, but we may have separate relationships with each individual partner at each generational level. The end. It sounds pretty doom and gloom. And this can happen where we have a complete and utter relationship breakdown, but this is very, very rare. And it's largely avoided if strong relationships are developed, communication lines are kept open, and that honesty and trust is still intact. I think what I mean by the end of a relationship is the natural ending, and that really is retirement. But I suppose the relationship doesn't end here for most farm businesses. The elderly partners retiring is one thing, but the business relationship continues as the next generation take over the reins. The personal relationship may well also continue with the retired partners in a more friendly, personal way. I can get on to the next slide. So in conclusion, the farming industry can be very stormy, and collectively we have a very large umbrella held up by long-lasting relationships. And I think it's crucial with what lies ahead, with Brexit, with squeezed margins, with the greenhouse gas emission targets, it's going to be more important than ever that these strong relations are maintained and built on. So that's me. So thank you for listening.
That's great, John. Thanks very much for that really interesting presentation there from the bank's point of view and relationships. And I think, although you're obviously coming from the HSBC's slant, it's really relevant to all businesses. So I think we've had quite a few questions come in there. So I can now pass you over to my colleague Kat, and she's going to pose questions to John. Thanks.
Hi folks, I hope you can hear me all okay. Yeah, John, thanks for your presentation. A few questions have come in from our attendees tonight, so hopefully I'm not putting you too much on the spot. One of the questions that's come in has from one of our attendees is, do you have to be a current HSBC customer before they can come to you for agricultural support?
I suppose what is the definition of support? I suppose support can mean lending facilities, borrowing facilities. It can mean general information. And as a bank, we do produce regular updates and regular literature, including the Forward Planner booklet on an annual basis. So these things are free to access via the HSBC webpage under the agricultural business section. When it comes to support and financial support, I suppose that has to come with that customer bank relationship. There's no other way to go about it. So yeah, it really depends on what the word support is, but I think we pride ourselves in that we've got 95 very knowledgeable and experienced agricultural managers. I'm obviously speaking from an HSBC angle here, and I think the support that we offer our customers is top rate.
Okay, great. John, that actually ties in nicely to the next question that's come in, and somebody's asking, do the agri relationship managers have actual farming backgrounds? Do they understand the business needs and the challenges that new entrants are facing, and probably farming and crossing as a whole?
I think when you look at what's happened in the industry over the last 20 years, I think it's impossible to have all of our relationship managers coming from farming backgrounds. When you look at university graduates, for example, from agricultural degree courses, you know that they've diminished significantly. So we do have a really good knowledge base with quite a lot of relationship managers from farming backgrounds, but we just can't get 95 with that full background. We've got, when you look at training that's involved for a relationship manager, it's pretty intense. We have regular updates from industry experts. We have continuous training and development. So, you know, the ones that are coming in from other sectors pick things up pretty quickly, to be honest. And I think we don't really need 95 relationship managers with agricultural backgrounds. We need a mix there. And I suppose when you look at some of our larger agribusinesses that we manage, we don't want some of these big businesses to have a board of 6 farmers. We want them to have quite a diverse and mixed range of skills. And that's why things work.
Okay. No, that's great. Another question that has come in is, what should you do if you feel that you don't have a good relationship with your bank manager? Can people change their managers? Can you easily change from one to another?
Yeah, I think it's going back to one of those key points that I made about trust there. And I think if you don't have trust in your bank manager, then you've got the right to raise it to a higher level. Absolutely. And most banks should be able to provide an alternative relationship manager. But I think first of all, it's important to understand why there's not a good relationship there, and whether or not something can be done to work on it and reverse that. And I have seen that happen in the past, where a colleague has had a bad relationship and something happens and then bang, they motive. But no, it's something that we don't want to do, but it's something we probably do as a last resort. We try and understand
Sure, I guess from a bank's perspective as well, you wouldn't want to lose a client, if there's been a clash of personalities or a difference somewhere,
no,
if you could have another manager take over. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. I think the first thing is to understand why there is a breakdown, and try and understand that and try and get it back on track.
Okay, great. I hope that's answered that question. Next one, John, you're in the firing line, I'm afraid. Would the bank be more lenient with a client if there was a strong relationship that was built when a problem might arise?
Oh, I don't know if lenient's the word, to be honest. I think we like to treat all customers fairly, and we have to treat all customers fairly. It's only right that we do that. I think if you've got a good track record, a good CV, as Andrew had put there, and you provide information, you've kept that open lines of communication going, and your relationship is good. But yeah, look, if farm business can get into difficulty, we work in a very volatile industry. It's fast moving, things can change. So yeah, I would say that the relationship can be a crucial factor, although we do like to treat all customers fairly, and we have to do that.
Sure. Okay. John, this is this has come from somebody based in Caithness asking, there's obviously no HSBC based in Caithness, so if somebody wanted to come to HSBC, would a relationship to get a relationship manager, would it mean they'd have to travel to Inverness, or do you travel to potential clients?
Yeah, I think the lockdown and coronavirus has taught us that yeah, face to face is obviously the preferred way of doing business, but there are other ways of doing it now, and we've got Zoom, we've got Microsoft Teams, we've got the good old telephone.
Yep.
I think where the branch is based or where the office is based is irrelevant. Largely, I mean, we've got 5 agricultural managers in Scotland, and we cover the whole of Scotland. So we do travel, like a lot of people do within the agricultural world in Scotland. So yeah, and we branches are not the be all and end all. It's about having that relationship manager that understands your business, and yeah, willing to meet face to face, but also willing to use other methods of communication.
Okay, great, John. Next question is, what do you feel, John, is the oh goodness, sorry, just clicked the wrong thing. What does John feel is the most important quality he looks for in a client when building a relationship? You maybe answered that in one of your slides, if I'm being honest, having read that question back, when you're saying about your Campari list that you go through.
Yeah,
but is there a key quality that you would look for?
I think it's knowing your business inside out, and I think it's about knowing your business, and it's every aspect of your business inside out. I think a lot of relationships can come under strain with the lack of understanding and knowledge on cash and cash flow. As banks, we're obsessed with it. It's cash that is borrowing, and cash flow is so important to understand it. So I think if you're a new business startup, be involved in that business plan, really understand. So that's the starting point. A business plan is something that can move and vary throughout the time of a business, and we understand that and we get it. It's not a static document. So understand how different decisions that you make as a manager and the things that kind of happen externally that you can't control. You just understand the impact of that on your business and your cash flow. Be prepared to provide information.
Okay, yep.
We like information because we're trying to convince ourselves and a credit team that you as a customer are worthy of support, and the better the quality of the information, the easier it generally is. So I think a lot of these factors is driven by the person there. So that's why we put person at the top of that list. We lend to the person or the people within a business, and the rest flow from that.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. No. Yep. Perfect. And then this is probably the last question that's come in at the moment is, other than the relationship with the bank, John, who do you think is the second most important relationship? Who should be the second on the list next to the bank?
I think it depends on your situation in your farm business. If you're a large scale arable business, I would say your agronomist is pretty top of the list there. If you grow vegetables, the relationship with your packer and pack house is completely crucial. If you're a beef and
as you say, it depends maybe what your situation is, isn't it?
Absolutely. It could be your accountant if you've got a complex structure where you need quite detailed planning and tax advice. If you're a beef and sheep farmer, it could be your feed rep or your nutritionist there. So yeah, I think it really does depend. Sometimes we're far from the top of the list. It can be somebody else that's pretty vital to that business. And we actually go into a lot of detail to say who are the people that are helping you as a business, because farmers are busy, they can't do everything, so they have to delegate some things. So who is that support team around you? What relationships do you have with other people and other businesses there? It's a very key and important aspect of assessing a business proposal.
Well, that's it. The next best relationship might be the person sitting next to you, around the table. It could be anybody, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
Depending on your situation. Yeah.
When you unravel a farm business and look at the number of relationships that exist, it's huge.
There's many.
There's many. It can actually be more than a non-farming corporate business, believe it or not. Farming's quite a multifaceted, multi-skilled business, and it's amazing when you actually sit down as an exercise and think, where are my key relationships? Where are my total relationships? There are a lot.
They're numerous, yeah. Okay, folks, did anybody else have any more questions they wanted to ask? If they do, you can type it into the question box and I can pick them up and present them to John. That's all that's come in from everybody so far. We'll just give them just a few more seconds, just in case anybody's in the middle of typing anything. If anybody else does have any additional questions offline, we can, present them to John and come back to you via email with an answer, folks. If there's anything, after the call that you think, oh goodness, I wish I'd asked that. So that's not a problem. But no, it doesn't look like there's going to be any more questions, folks. So what I'll do is I'll hand you back to Kathleen, who's going to close the webinar off for us. So thanks for your time. I'll pass you back to Kathleen.
That's great, Kat. Thanks very much. And of course to John for those questions. Hope you weren't sweating too much. Just to kind of come to an end this evening, we're just going to launch another poll. So just there, how do you feel more inspired to cultivate your relationships in business? And I think John pointed out there at the end, maybe farming, there's lots of different relationships depending on what type of business you're in and maybe who's in the business as well. Yeah, we'll just and depending maybe even in farming, the time of year, your relationships in lambing time can sometimes be a bit strained. But no, that's great. We'll just close that poll and we'll launch the results. I think everybody is thinking that, yeah, you're more inspired. That's great. So I just kind of draw this evening to a close. I just want to say a big thank you to John for his time this evening, and obviously the time he spent preparing the presentation. I want to thank the attendees, yourselves, for listening. As with all these webinars that we're running, because they're funded through FAS, we'll be sending out evaluation forms tomorrow. If you can please complete them and send them back, it just means that we can continue to get the funding for such events. And a copy of tonight's presentation will be available in due course. As I said at the beginning, this is a series of meetings. This is number 5, so we've got 6, 7 and 8 there. And I think John picked up, you know, in these times, you know, it's not necessary to have a local branch because we've got all these new interactive methods of contacting. And as you'll see, well, next week, we've got starting with a tenancy or seasonal lets, and that's Dave Green, who's going to be talking on that one. But the next week, it's climate change, cows versus cars, and that's a professor there from the University of California. So possibly, if it weren't in such times, we maybe have not have gone so far afield. And then the final one is some of SRC guys about carbon. So hope you all enjoyed this evening. I'd just like to say thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you'll be all maybe on the call next week. Thanks for this evening and good night.